guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. So let's jump back in and let's finish off the canine handlers experts testimony from Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing. I went over Dustin Witt's testimony yesterday, former Sergeant K9 Unit with his dog Banshee. Then we have today on this video is going to be Julie Gibson with her canine Yodi, Deborah Hurlburt and her canine Bannock. And these are definitely going to be more witnesses, especially Julie, I can tell, that are going to be very important when it comes to the big trial this fall against Stacey Wondra. And again, this is thanks to Samantha's channel. I'm going to include the link in the information of this video. So if you are not subscribed to her, please be sure to head on over and hit that subscribe button.
We back on the record, Madam Clerk? Yes. So we're resuming our preliminary hearing in the matter of State of Idaho v. Wondra in case CR 382-51295. We were going to resume at 1 o'clock. I had a conference with counsel before we began, so I appreciate everyone's patience. That is not uncommon. There will be times, no doubt, that there needs to be a conversation off the record about administrative matters, potentially with the state of the defense. But that's what that is. Certainly, we of course, are cognizant of and respectful of everyone's time, but how much of it we're just waiting for notice. Is the state ready to resume?
We are, Your Honor.
And is the defense ready to resume?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. State ready to call us next witness then?
We are, Your Honor. The state calls Julie Gibson.
Can you say that last for me again?
Julie Gibson.
Gibson. All right. Ms. Gibson, if you'd come down the little aisle there and then between these two tables and raise your right hand to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear and or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right. Ma'am, if you'd come up to our witness chair there. The chair's unexpectedly heavy, so I'll have to push it out of your way just a little bit and get to the front of it. But once you're seated into it, you kind of pull it forward to that mic so you're reasonably close. I appreciate it. And then if you would state your full name and spell your last, please.
Okay. Julie Aline Gibson, Gibson.
All right, Mr. Duke, you can begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gibson, what do you do for a living?
I am retired. I was a retired dog trainer, and I run cadaver dogs with United States detection dogs.
Okay, and what is a cadaver dog?
There are three delineations between cadaver dogs. A cadaver dog will find deceased human remains. A human remains detection dog has taken a few more tests that will find human remains, bones, old bones, alert on vehicles, buildings, blood, and larger buried and old remains.
Okay, and at your, well, are you, so how long were you a canine handler?
I am a canine handler, but I train dogs professionally as a job from 1984 until about 2012.
Okay, and then did you say you were a trainer from those times?
Yes.
Okay, and do you utilize cadaver dogs still to this day?
I do. I have my first search dog, which was live and cadaver. I trained in 1993. Started in 1993.
Okay. And in July of 2021, were you asked to help Fruitland Police Department?
I was not in July of 21. At that point, I was in between dogs, so I did not come out until November of 22.
My apologies. Okay, in November of 22, did you help with the search, or Fruitland Police Department with the search?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and where was that search located?
That was at 11:02.
Yeah, before you look, you're allowed to.
Read my reports?
Yeah, well,
Read.
what do you have? What do you have there in front of you?
I have my CV, which is my experience, so if you wanted dates on specific seminars, I have my search reports from the dates with the details of what we did on the
Okay,
searches.
and with reviewing your search report, refresh your memory of the location.
Yeah, 11:02 Red Wing.
Okay.
And also.
Let's pause for a minute.
Yeah,
so you can talk
before-
about this refreshment.
Yeah, before you keep going,
She's looking at
Yeah, so the judge, we've just asked that, again, the witness not read from the report, and the proper procedures be upheld, so to speak, that
Yeah.
recollection refresh.
Well, so Mr. Duke, I think, was about to explain, but didn't quite get to it, so I'll do it. So, ma'am, it's certainly the case, right, that you're not going to remember potentially everything that you did, and there may be something that would refresh your memory. But it's important that you testify from memory, as opposed to read something into the record. There's a different procedure for that. And so, if you're asked a question and you don't know the answer, and looking at something isn't going to help you remember, then I just need you to say that.
Okay.
If you're asked a question that you think, if I looked at my report, I might have my memory jogged, and I would, or refreshed, and I might be able to testify then from memory. But ultimately, it's important that you testify from memory. If you reach a point where you're not testifying from memory, you're just reading what's on the paper, then I need you to let the state and the defense know that's what's happening. So that's a different thing. So anytime you're asked a question and you think, I might need my memory refreshed, then I need you to indicate to whoever's asked you the question that needs to happen. And then there'll be a discussion about what would refresh your memory potentially, and whether or not the parties, the prosecuting attorney, the defense attorney, whether they want to look at what you're looking at to refresh your memory, so that they too know what's being used in the course of that.
Yes,
So
okay.
otherwise, don't testify while you're looking at something. So if we go through that process and I decide you're gonna allow you to refresh your memory, then I'll ask you to do the refreshing, set the thing aside. If you still don't remember, just say so. If it does refresh your memory, then set the thing aside and testify in response to the question that's been put to you.
Got it.
Okay.
Awesome. And before we continue, I'm actually gonna have defense counsel look at that just so they know what it is
That is
to
fine.
refresh your memory. Okay.
And there was also the number of the address, the house on Snowbell as well.
All right.
Any objection to any presentation from the defense about those documents?
No, Judge.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, so do you recall the address that you deployed or that you went to assist at?
11:02. No, yeah, that the one in Fruitland that they had dug out.
Okay, if you were to look at your report, would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you look at your report, but don't read from it. And once your memory's refreshed, then just put it back down and look at me, and we'll continue.
Yes. 11:02 Red Wing in Fruitland, and then the number of the Snowbell. I did not look on page 2.
Okay. So when you went to the Red Wing address, where was it that you were helping law enforcement search?
At that point, I was there on November 14th, and they had excavated quite a bit of the backyard at that point. And so we went along the edges of where the dig
Okay.
area was, along the fence, the edge of the house, back of the back fence, and the fence that's going to the southern section.
Okay.
The hole was in between, and then we went into the excavated area as well.
Okay, and so when you're helping with a search, in what capacity are you helping?
I deploy my dog,
Okay, and so
find human remains.
okay, and the normal procedure for deploying your dog, I guess what is the normal procedure when you deploy your dog?
For my dog, I have a GPS collar that she wears that signals to her she is working. And I give her a command, let's go find him. And that is her work command.
Okay, and do your dogs have trainings or certificates to be, I guess, certified as cadaver dogs?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and can you explain what certification trainings they have?
We go through a training period, minimum log of 6 months in your training logs before you can certify and test. The average dog takes 18 months to 2 years before they're ready to certify. And the test involves, do you want
Yeah.
the whole parameter of what the test involves? The test involves locating blood on a vehicle, blood in a building, and there are 1 to 3 sources in 1,500 square feet, 3 rooms of a building. And then we have 3 approximately 1 acre parcels that the dog has to search. And on those parcels, there will be 0 to 3 human remains sources. Typically, we will always have a buried source, bones, animal remains as well, so that the dog is proofed off that they will not alert on animal remains. And it can be tissue or a large amount of blood, buried, or bones.
Okay, and so you mentioned animal remains. What specifically is the dog trained to sniff out?
Human remains. The dogs are only trained on human remains.
First of all, I want to say that these dogs are highly trained. I mean, 2 years, and she said she had 6 months with just this dog, and the certifications alone, and probably the amount of testing it sounds like that they have to pass to become a certified cadaver dog is quite extensive. So I like that also that the prosecutor is asking her, what do they alert on? Human remains. Human remains. I feel like we need to repeat that a couple times and very, very loud for Brandon's shirtless mom, who alleged that the cadaver dogs alerted to a plumbing leak at her home. No, they don't alert to plumbing and crap. They don't.
I do not use any pseudo scent with my dogs.
Okay, and so if somebody is still alive, would your dog alert to that person if they're like hiding in a box or something?
No, she might go over and wag her tail at them and try and lick them, but she will not do a trained final response.
Okay, and if there are animal remains, are the dogs trained to alert to animal remains?
The dogs ignore animal remains, or if they're really gross, they might roll in them, but they will not do a trained final response on animal remains.
Okay, and when they're being certified, does it count against them if they alert to animal remains?
The dog would automatically fail if there was any alert on animal remains.
Okay. And what's the organization that certifies the dogs?
I am certified through the National Search Dog Alliance, where it's a national certification.
Okay. And when you say you're certified, does the dog get certified, or do you get certified with the dog, or how does that work?
We are a team. We are both certified, and we can be failed on hand knowledge or the dog's performance.
Okay. And so when you were in Fruitland in November of 22, what was the dog that you were using there?
I was using Yodi. Yodi is a Jack Russell Terrier. She is currently 5 years, just 5.5, not quite 5.5 years old, and she was with me that day.
Okay. Okay. And so at the time she was 5.5, or
No,
right
currently.
now she's okay.
Now,
And did you follow the normal procedures that you would follow when deploying Yodi?
yes, I did.
Okay, and so specific to Fruitland, walk me through what the procedure is that you followed when you deployed your Yodi.
Okay, we were told to go get the dog so we could run the dog. So we went, put on her collar after taking her potty first, and put on her collar, gave her her search command, and we worked on leash and off leash in the backyard. But when she worked, she went around, she did not just scent behavior, kind of a change of what we call a change of behavior, COB, where just deep snuffing, deep scenting on the portion of the fence by the tree. She did not show any real behavior in the hole, but she did have a trained final response along the edge, closer to the house by the irrigation box.
Okay, and so you started to describe it. What was the condition of that backyard when you guys got there?
It had been excavated, except for I believe it was a foot, maybe 18 inches along the edges. That was about all that remained on the side where they had the tree and the fence, to probably about the same amount of space on the back fence, between the two neighbors' yards that face Red Wing, and then along the house side up to, there was a sidewalk, and then the entrance to the house, and then there was a kitchen with an outset window, and underneath that is where the irrigation box was, with the irrigation pipes that went across the yard. I don't know exactly how far from. The hole had an angle cut like this that went down. And so where she alerted, it was kind of in line with the irrigation pipes.
Okay, and what's your interpretation of where she alerted? Like what information does that give you?
That there was scent there in that location does not mean that there was a body there at that location.
Okay.
But it, then, can I clarify?
Yes, please.
Okay, so after that, after we worked the yard, we took her out, put her out. The box was dug out and they removed dirt from around the irrigation box and the irrigation pipes, and we went back to that area. And at that point, she did not indicate, again, after those things had been removed, which we probably, that scent will travel along pipes and up into a box and get caught inside that irrigation box, had there been a body buried in the yard at some point.
Okay. And so, so after, and when you say excavated, are we talking like dirt removed, like an actual excavation? Or are we talking just like ground disturbed? What do you mean by excavated when you're describing the ground?
In the backyard,
Yes, yes.
it was excavated by the, I believe, a backhoe or skid steer, and they had totally taken out. By the time I got there, I believe it was about 6 feet was removed from the backyard of the dirt.
And so, after you remove the irrigation equipment, and did you say you also, the pipes were removed as well?
Yes, they were.
Okay, and then you redeployed Yodi?
Mhm.
Okay, and so when you redeployed Yodi, after all that equipment was removed, then there was no more alerts?
No, at that point, she snuffed around the ground and did not alert on that.
Okay. And And so when your dog alerts, what does that look like? What are the indicators to you that your dog is alert?
Yodi's trained final response is a down at source.
Okay, what does that mean?
Down at source is down at the strongest scent that she has gotten. The change of behavior scent with her, she's got a tail that's up like this. She's Jack Russell Terrier. She's just working or not finding anything. Her tail's up high. As she gets scent, her tail will level out and go flat and go very slow and methodical. When she gets, and then she has what we call a deep snuff, a deep sniff. It's very audible. You can tell when she hits a scent pattern. And when she won't alert until she's found either what she's looking for or the strongest scent at where it's coming from at that point. And that's what she did. She will down. And if I don't respond to her, because I'm a search, I typically do not acknowledge unless I can see the body or see something. I do not respond. She'll get mad and she will bark at me.
Okay, and was there anything unique about this search from what the ordinary search that Yodi would perform was?
No, she did what she is trained to do on that search.
Okay, and was Yodi certified at this time?
Yes, she was.
Okay, and had Yodi ever performed successful finds where there was a body recovered?
Yes, she has.
Okay, can you describe what that might have looked like, or what that did look like?
It was a hillside area. We were deployed to search, and I can't give you a lot of specifics because it is also a confidential case. But she went in, found the body, stuck her nose in to the source, worked the scent around it, went back, laid down, and because I would not acknowledge her, she barked at me. Then we removed her, and they proceeded to dig.
And during your training, do you ever work with circumstances where bodies are put in the ground and then removed?
Yes, we actually have had, I'd say, numerous training seminars and training setups where we've been through, they use whole bodies, they remove them. The dogs then will work the area. One of them was with Forensic Institute Research Station out of Colorado Mesa University. And one of the setups they had on that particular seminar was they did have a body in a suitcase for about a 24-hour period, removed it, put that suitcase in an attic for a year. A year later, they brought out that suitcase from the attic, and they brought out 2 other suitcases that had never had any human remains near them. And we had all the dogs in that course did scent lineups, and I thought it was 90% of them had accurately pinpointed the suitcase, but it wasn't quite that number. But Yodi had no problems whatsoever pinpointing that suitcase.
Okay.
Those type of trade, but we have done quite a few of those type of scenarios.
Okay, and so in this case, the actual training that you were at, Yodi successfully completed these kinds of tasks?
Yes.
Okay. Has Yodi ever given you a false positive?
Explain false positive.
Has there ever been a circumstance where you know that there wasn't a body, but Yodi alerted?
When we, in training, we will bury something and remove it and work, and in that situation with the suitcase, I mean, that would be what I consider. It's not false because there is odor there.
Right, and so what I'm asking,
But where there's nothing there, no, that's one of her strong points, is she does not false alert.
okay.
I am like very impressed with Yodi, and of course, I found some photos of Yodi that I was able to put up with this video because I want to see what these doggies look like, and I'm sure you guys would like to as well, especially when it's a little Jack Russell Terrier, and she's definitely cute. Of course, they all are cute in their own way. But again, she is Julie and her dog Yodi, and she does have another dog that she works with through her organization. When I looked her up, they have quite the history of success rates, and she works also with an organization called Mountain State Detection Dogs. So again, she's had massive experience with canines and cadaver dogs and search dogs.
Okay, and I guess the last direction of inquiry, does weather affect Yodi's ability to perform?
Weather can affect scent in the sense that if it's extremely cold, less scent is released. If it's extremely hot, scent can move up. If scent rises, it can go up very quickly and move into different locations. But the dogs are able to work through, extreme cold and extreme heat, and we train and such.
Okay, so in this case, were there any weather conditions that would make you believe that Yodi was unreliable on this particular day?
No, it was actually very good conditions that day. It was moist, it was damp, it was cool, but it was moist and damp.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Pause it briefly. I think she's quite knowledgeable, like I briefly stated, and again, her dog Yodi not only was the one who alerted at 11:02 Red Wing, Yodi alerted at Brandon Shirtlift's mama's house in Kuna. So I don't know if that's mentioned because I'm kind of listening to some of this testimony for the first time as I do this video, but I am hoping that it's brought up. But I don't know, the defense might want to stay away from some of that, considering what Brandon's mom told the news about detecting bad plumbing at her house.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gibson. So I want to go back to the beginning. I think I missed it. You said there's two different trainings, is that correct? Or two different types of dogs, one with remains and ones that look for dead bodies, so to speak? Is that?
There, in the cadaver dog world, we have what we know as human remains detection dogs that are often trained to a higher level than just what we call a large source cadaver dog. So they're typically, it's a different test they take where they're finding a large source in a large area for mimicking a freshly deceased case. So if you've got a live find, you're looking for a missing hunter who died 24 hours ago, they can have a different type of dog for that that is not trained on the trace evidence that your human remains detection dog.
Okay.
Is.
Okay. And that answers my question. Thank you. So what type of dog is Yodi trained?
Yodi is a human remains detection dog, and she is also trained in historical human remains, trained on bodies that have been buried in the 1800s.
Okay. So, and then the next thing I have to clarify is You testified that Yodi is currently 5.5 years old, right?
Not quite. She was 5 in December.
She was 5 last summer?
In December.
Oh, in December.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So, back in November of 2022, how old was Yodi?
Yodi was not quite 2 years old.
Okay. And in the certifications and the training that you that you kind of testified about, how long? Well, I guess I'll rephrase it this way: when does a dog like Yodi start training?
Yodi started training at about 4.5 months of age. Typically, I'll start a dog at 8 weeks. Other dog I had at home now, he started at 8 weeks the day he got home. And Yodi, I wasn't going to have her be a cadaver dog. She decided on her own that was what she wanted to do.
Okay, so is this training that begins, and is this particular to certain dog breeds, or can any dog breed do
It's not certain dog breeds, it's certain dogs' work ethic. They have to have a reason to work. They are working for a paycheck, so to speak, just like you. Some dogs will work for toys, some dogs will work for food. But there is something they are working for to get at the end of their job, and that's their reward.
it? Okay. And what kind of? I mean, your testimony is they're working to pay for pay or for that reward.
Yeah.
What is the reward? Because often dog handlers will, with drug sniffing dogs and such, the dog will expect to get a treat when they're done doing that work for the day. What is Yodi's reward?
Yodi gets, she has a food reward, and then at the end of our period, she plays tug.
Okay. So you started Yodi early. How much training did she do? You said 8 weeks. She was 8 weeks old?
She was 4.5 months when she started.
Oh, 4. So a little bit later than some of the other dog, right?
Then they're at her other certified dog right now.
It took her longer to make that decision, right?
No, I had no intention of working her as a cadaver dog. She decided that she wanted to be a cadaver dog.
Okay. And so how?
I just love her response. She decided she wanted to be a cadaver dog. I mean, that's so cool. I don't know. I mean, you could tell that Julie loves her job, and she loves her dogs, and she loves to help people, obviously. And as sad as it is for this work to find human remains, it's necessary, and hopefully it brings closure to lots of families out there. So it's important work that she does with Yodi and the other canines.
And so how long, what did her training specifically consist of?
We follow a national standard of training that was online. It's a minimum of 16 hours a month. Sometimes we're doing 30, but it's a bare minimum of 16 hours a month of training. And sometimes we've done, more than that, depending on the situation. And we train strictly. When you introduce them to scent, there's several different ways to introduce a dog to scent.
Okay, I want to go through that with you,
Okay.
if I could. And you said that you only use, and I think you were specific with Yodi on this, that you're using real human remains. Is that right? Where do you get that?
You ask no questions, we tell no lies. But we have bones that are sourced through the bone room. I have things from coroners, I have things from surgeons, I have different remains. I have grave dirt from the forensic Institute Research Station that they have removed from, they have a body farm there. They removed the grave dirt after the decomposition.
And they allow you to use these to train these dogs?
Yes, we do have that in our possession to train the dogs.
Okay. How do you keep these human remains?
Very carefully. My dry bones are separated into one area in an ammo can, an airtight, air-sealed tank separated by airtight containers each bone. And so it's each individual, say person, because they aren't necessarily person anymore, but DNA sample from each one. They are all different. And then things like tissue is in another location. They're all in airtight containers. They're kept in a freezer, and they are marked what they are, where they came from, and they are monitored. So make sure, and we're very anal about precautions and our PPEs, and that we are not contaminating the source, and that the source is not contaminating something else.
Gotcha. So, and you said 16 hours a month at the very least. Is that right?
Correct.
Is there? What are the incremental requirements? Is that every month, or is that like every 6 months or 3 months?
I explained that one a little better, incremental.
Did Yodi train 16 hours of training every month, 12 months out of the year, or is the training like every 3 months?
No, we train, virtually almost every day she's doing something. Average, 4 or 5 times a week, she's either doing a scent drill or we do problems. So the time period on that is based on training time for the human, and then your nose time for the dog, which is a little bit different. And so now we have these fun things called NIMS protocols on training. So, but we are very careful to monitor our dog training time, location, what we did with it. Was it a berry that day? Was it a scent drill that day? Was it surface? Was it elevated? Was it vehicle?
Okay.
Was it residual? Was it something we had to source out? Removed it, worked the dog on it.
So you're very thorough with your record keeping for the training purposes.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And remind me again, she would have been 2 years old?
She would have 23 months at that point.
Okay, just under 2. You mentioned a GPS collar that signals. What is that?
A GPS collar is a tracker on the dog, goes to my GPS that will show exactly where she's worked and where she's gone.
Okay, so it shows you a path.
Yes.
Okay.
And on a search like that, a backyard that's super small, and it may not be turned on, but in a larger area, they're always on, and we then mark where their indications are.
Okay. So you use that to keep a record to show that there was an indication here, no indication here.
On larger searches, we do, a lot of times we'll do, if you look at my paper, I'll do a written map of different areas as well.
Okay.
Or if it's something simple, it's just written out in the log, in the search report.
And your testimony was that you and Yodi just searched the backyard, correct?
On that day.
Okay. So you might not have had the GPS collar on for that search, do you remember?
It probably was not on, because part of the time she was on a leash as we walked around the yard, but the other, when it's a confined space, so it was in a large area, so
Okay.
I had it on that day.
And you mentioned a leash just now. So you had Yodi on a leash while she was performing this?
I'm not when we came back the second time to the irrigation box area,
Okay.
I think I walked her up on a leash. And
So Yodi's free, and let's talk about the first time you get there to this yard. You described it as, would you describe it as a rectangular shaped yard?
rectangular with there were two side yards.
With, yes. The main part of the yard.
Was rectangular, correct.
Okay. Long fence in the back with the house behind.
Correct.
Right. And you testified 12 to 18 inches. So the middle part has been already excavated and dug out.
Correct.
And there's an edge of 12 to 18 inches all around the sides. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. And did you walk? Was the search in the beginning just on the area, that 12 to 8 inches on the outside?
We did both. At that point, when we first went in, I gave her the run of that area, and so we did around the edge. She went into the hole, so to speak, and then came back out, and then went around the backside of the house and then to the irrigation.
Okay.
It did take her a while because, like I said, there was some scent indications along the fence area, but not a trained final response. But it would be where there was some scent residual there that she did.
Okay. So yeah, I'll get to that. So well, let's talk about it now. So as you're walking with Yodi along the fence, and Yodi gets an indication, but not a final response. Doesn't give a final response. What does that look like as opposed to the written response?
That is what I was telling you earlier. Her tail tends to go from the up to a little lower, slower, and she does what I call it. It's called a deep snub. You can hear it as kind of like a snort when they're processing scent.
Yeah, but the final indication is a laying down.
Correct.
Okay. And Yodi is trained to lay down in exactly precisely the spot.
Correct.
Okay. And so you walk around the yard, the part that's not excavated, and then you come around. I think your testimony was that the irrigation box was out. Is it outside of that kitchen window of the house?
Correct.
Okay. And there's a patio, concrete patio outside this house, right?
Yes, there is.
And then next to that, if I was standing looking out of the yard, next to that is where that kitchen part is of the house, right? And the window's here.
I'm not sure about your delineation, how I visualize and you visualize, but yes, the patio, the kitchen window, the back of the house, the bedroom, the fence, and where the digging equipment was going in and removing dirt.
Okay.
That gate, that was removed.
Okay, gotcha. So, but this irrigation box and the piece of earth that was dug up after an indication was given by Yodi, that is outside of that kitchen window.
Correct.
And it's only 10 to 18 inches, so it was just, did she lay down just in the center of that area?
She laid on the box.
Okay, so, and let's clarify, are we talking about like the green boxes that are in most people's yards?
Yes.
The lid?
Yes.
Okay. And so the other officers there, I assume, had you and Yodi leave, is that right?
Correct.
They bring in the excavator to start digging?
Actually, they hand dug because it was so close to the house and there was all irrigation pipe.
Okay. How long did it take? And my question, the reason I ask is because of the irrigation pipe. Were the pipes cut and dug out? But what did you see when you got back there?
To be honest, I don't remember what they did with the pipes or how they cut them out because I was not there at that point. We've gone back to our vehicle. But there was a hole where they had been and they were no longer there.
Okay. asking you what you could perceive and see, because you didn't watch them dig it out, you just said, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when you got back, how wide, what was the shape of the hole that they dug?
I believe it followed the rectangular, several feet, maybe 2.5 feet around the edge where the box was, and I do not recall how deep they had dug out.
Okay. Can you estimate how deep the hole was, how far in the hole was? How deep it was?
No, because it would be a guesstimate.
Okay. Well, I'd like to hear
It
your...
was not, Yodi was able to jump into it without a big issue.
Okay.
And she's only this high, so it
Okay.
wouldn't have been more than 3 feet deep.
Okay. And we're talking about the hole that they dug after the indication, right?
Correct.
Okay. And again, you can see that the entirety of the middle of the yard is dug out.
Correct.
About how deep was that?
It was deeper than me,
Okay.
because when I went in it, the hole was over my head.
Okay. So you have to be careful walking around the edges of this yard to not fall in.
You're correct, yes, yes.
So a thorough search, from what you could see, was dug out, of the yard was dug out, right? A thorough portion of the yard was searched and dug out.
The day we came, the yard had already been predominantly excavated, correct?
Okay. So Yodi has this indication, gives this final alert, lays down on the irrigation box. I saw in your report, and Mr. Duke asked about weather and how things can affect that. Could there be blood within those irrigation pipes that would cause Yodi to give an indication in a final alert?
Could there be blood?
Yes.
I mean, like, did somebody cut their hand when installing, or
Yes.
that's a possibility,
Okay. Yeah. So
but is that predominant? I mean, that's one that the Yodi will alert on flood, but typically the way the snuffing behavior, you're not going to get an indication on a drop of blood in a whole yard.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not asking a drop of blood, but
Or
it's
if somebody had even, in order to pinpoint blood, the dog has to be working very, very close. So they're not going to get scent behavior over here or over here from someone cut their hand over here. They're not going to get scent behavior over here.
okay. But Yodi is trained to lay right at the source of it, right? So it's not going to be on one side of the yard, and she's not going to get an indication on the other side of the yard. She's going to go to that.
To where the scent is coming from.
Okay. And when I was briefly reviewing the reports that you brought with you, there are weather indicators in there. Wind, is that right?
Correct.
So you make note of those.
We do.
And what's the purpose of that?
We know what we're sent knowing what's it doing at that time. How quickly is it going to rise? Is it going to be kept down close to the ground, colder areas?
Okay. So on a hotter day, does the scent rise, as you say?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. And then on a colder day, stay closer to the ground then?
Usually your alerts are going to be closer to the source where scent can dissipate in a large volume of area.
Okay. Maybe this was covered on direct testimony. the officers have you and Yodi go into the house?
On that day, I do not believe we did.
Okay.
We did go back on other occasions.
You did go back on other occasions. Was it after this November 14th date?
We went, I do not know, I would have to look at my notes. I believe that was in December that we went back and went into the crawl space.
Okay. So you went actually into the crawl space of that home?
Correct.
Were there any indications by your dog there?
No, there were not.
Okay. Last thing that I really have for you, you had testified on direct that Yodi's been very successful, right?
Correct.
That she's performed very well in all of her training. And if I'm right, she was doing this suitcase searching thing where you remove the body in another training. Is that right?
Correct. That was a trial done by a forensic institute research station.
Okay. But there were no large pools of blood or body parts found in this dig on this occasion, right?
In the backyard.
Correct.
Correct. But
Anywhere on the
residual scent, the dog will alert on residual scent. And that's what I believe is happening on that day.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gibson. You're free to go.
I really think she's a good witness, and this is just like the bare bones with her, because her dog, she and Yodi, Julie Gibson and her dog Yodi, again, were the ones that also came, positive scent at Brandon's mama's house in Kuna. So we're going to hear a lot more from Julie in the actual trial in a couple months. And I am, more than a couple months, but not very long down the road anyway. And I am definitely looking forward to hearing more from her. She seems she's like a good witness to me. She really does.
Is the state ready to call us next witness?
We are.
All right. So with that,
The state calls Deborah Hurlburt.
Ms. Hurlburt,
Yes.
I can have you come down between the tables here and raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear and or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ma'am, go up to our witness chair there and take a seat. That chair is deceptively heavy, so very, very bad. And then if you kind of pull it into the mic as best you can so you're close to get picked up. If you'd begin by stating your full name and spell your last, please.
Deborah June Hurlburt. Hurlburt.
And state can begin as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hurlburt, what do you do for a living?
I am a K9 handler and trainer.
Okay. What kind of canines do you handle and train?
I handle human remains detection dogs.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
Since 2002, in one aspect or another.
Okay. And so, did you start off training or just handling and then move into training? Or how does that work?
I actually started assisting. I started without a dog, and then I moved into handling, and then just kind of organically started instructing others because they liked my methodologies.
Okay. And do you have any trainings or certificates in your methods? Like, did you receive any certifications?
Personally,
Yes.
I have a degree in behavioral psychology. And then I also, personally, I am an instructor for the Texas State Forensics Anthropology Department in San Marcos. I go down there and I also instruct other handlers in training their dogs as well. Is that what we're asking?
Okay. Yeah. More specific to the animal or the dog.
Oh, it's my dog. Does
Yeah.
my dog have any certification?
Yeah. And so in November of 2022, did you have a dog that you were utilizing for searches?
Yes, I did. His name is K9 Bannock.
Okay, and is Bannock certified, or I guess, are you certified as a pair? Do I understand that correctly?
Correct. You
Okay.
certified as a team.
Okay, and so were you and Bannock certified as a team?
Yes. He has since retired, but we certified under the North American Police Work Dog Association.
Okay, and is that a nationally recognized organization?
It is.
Okay. And so what do you have to do in order to become certified under this program?
Could you be more, do you mean what does the certification entail?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's with the Master Trainer Evaluator, law enforcement, and there are 6 components to the Human Remains Detection certification, and then you have to complete each 6 components, and each component contains 2 different cadaver aids, and then there are other parameters. There also has to be animal remains present. In the component where there's a burial, there's also false holes present. The dog is not allowed to false alert at all, and they are allowed 1 miss. However, in the entirety of Bannock's career, he never had a miss and he never had a false alert.
Okay, and so what's the difference between a false alert and a miss?
A miss would be if there were cadaver present and he did not recognize it. And so he just would, a dog would ignore it.
Okay.
That never happened.
Okay, and and this isn't a training environment?
It's a test environment.
Okay, in a test environment. And so Bannock had never had a miss and is a false positive where they would alert that there was no human remains present?
Correct. There's also, within the 6 components, there are areas where there are no human remains, so you would have to clear those areas without a dog alerting.
Okay. And do they, as part of the training, or as part of any of the trainings you've been through, or certifications, were there ever components where there would be a body that was removed, and then K9 Bannock would be deployed to see if he detected the scent of human decomposition?
We would consider that residual odor.
Okay.
That is not part of the certification process. However, in training, specifically with the Texas State Forensics Anthropology Department, they have a body farm. And so part of the body farm is they will bury full cadavers. The students will come in, and part of their educational process is they have to exhume all of the remains. Once those bodies have been exhumed, we will then take the dogs through and run them through those areas to see the behaviors that a dog would elicit when there's odor present without physical human remains still there.
Okay. And so in these environments, does K9 Bannock alert to where human remains were present but had been removed?
Yes, it looks a little bit different. It's different. You don't get, for my dogs, how I phrase it in my head, they elicit a search behavior, and that's they're going out and they're looking for human remains, smelling. I say looking, but it's actually they're smelling to try to detect the odor of human cadaver. And then they have a change of behavior, which happens when they do get in the odor of human remains. I like to say then it's more of a distal kind of thing where they really haven't closed in yet and they're really actively hunting. And then it kind of becomes more fine-tuned where they're actually, it's more of like a proximal behavior where they narrowed the search area, where he would narrow the search area. And then what I see at that time is where he'll start trying to pinpoint where the strongest source of odor is. If he cannot pinpoint, and that would be like finding a bone, finding a whole body, finding a limb, an appendage. It could even possibly be, say, finding a shoe with a foot still in it. If he's not able to pinpoint, it looks different. If it's just like more of what I would consider a diffused odor, we can see that sometimes in concealment. If, say, the subject is buried, and sometimes you can't get a real strong pinpoint, it will be more of a generalization. In the instances, say, avalanche would be concealment, water would be concealment. It's a little bit more of a diffused odor, and it's dispersed differently. So he still will narrow the search area and indicate where the strongest concentration of the odor is. However, I don't get that definitive pinpoint to train final alert.
Okay, and so, and that was my next question. Does K9 Bannock have a trained final alert?
He does.
And what's his final alert?
It is a down.
Okay, and that's laying down?
It is a very active down. It isn't just laying down. It's a very active, explosive down.
Okay. And so what's your procedure when you're going to deploy K9 Bannock?
It depends upon the set of circumstances with where I'm deploying him. I like to go in first. I do a scene assessment, make sure there's no hazards present. Just kind of looking around the area myself to see, where he might want to go. And then I will bring him out. Preferably, I bring him out, say if it's a situation where it's outside. I try to bring him a little bit of a distance away from the search area, just so he can acclimate to the environment. I also like to see when I'm approaching the search area, if he does give me a change of behavior that might indicate that he is in the odor of human remains. And then I approach the area. I will start him in a down, and then I give him a moment to acclimate, and then I give him his search command.
Okay. And in November of 2022, did you help Fruitland Police Department with a search?
I did.
Okay, and do you recall where that search was located?
I believe it was 1102 Red Wing in Fruitland.
Okay. And so, do you remember the day that was that you got there?
I believe it was November 13th.
Okay. And so when you did your initial assessment...
Just to be clear, November 13th of what year?
2022.
When you did your initial assessment, what was the condition of the well, I guess where on the property were you asked to search?
I was asked to search the full property, the yard, the exterior of the property, I would say.
Okay, and when you did your assessment, what was the condition of particularly the backyard?
The backyard had been tore up, for lack of a better word. It had been fixed in by some piece of big machinery.
Okay. And so when did you deploy K9 Bannock after you had done your site inspection?
I did. I purposely parked about a block away. It just allows me to get my head into the game as well. And so once again, I can bring him out. I can allow him to get acclimated to the environment. And yes, I approached the property. I let him. He very much pulled me to that property. He didn't know what property that we were searching. And then I deployed him. I started in the backyard.
Okay, and so is there any meaningful interpretation in pulling you to the property?
Yes.
Okay, what's your interpretation of that behavior?
That is a change of behavior conducive with being in the odor of human remains.
Okay. And so then, what happened when you deployed him in the backyard?
He actively started searching, and so this is what I would consider not necessarily just a little more proximal behavior, that he was very much hunting for the source of the odor that he was in, and the odor of human remains. And so I like to stay out of the picture as much as possible. I consider it a hasty search. I watch from afar, let him go around the property, actively investigating. He was 8 years old at the time, so he was well seasoned. He was very good at his job. And what I'm looking for at that time when he's actively searching, because I had to change of behavior, that he was actually in the odor of human remains, I want to watch from a distance and see where he has not gotten, so that if I do have to go into the area, I can then direct him to the areas where he might not have gotten his nose. There were deep holes. Once I entered, I made sure he got down in the deep holes. There's a difference. They will actually narrow the search area. He would narrow the search area. And so what I'm watching for too, that might be at times like lifting his head up like this, and it's like, no, he's ruling that area out. And so what I'm looking for is for him to narrow the search area. What I consider it is like, oh, that's negative. He's saying the odor's not as strong over there. It's more over here. And so I'm watching where he's coming in and where his nose is directing, because that's what I'm looking for. It's him driving his nose into odor. He's driving his nose into the strongest source of
And
odor.
at any point did he have this behavior where he's driving his nose into like a source?
He never was able to pinpoint.
Okay, and so you observed him to be what I think you described as in odor,
Correct. Yes.
but he was never. Did he ever alert while he was in the backyard?
He did give his train final alert. However, I would consider it's what I would consider an odor alert. It's not the pinpoint to the TFR. What he does in that situation, he's actively working odor. He gets to where he believes in his mind is the strongest source of odor, and he will give his TFR, and then he kind of gives it up, and then he would actively search again, running his nose up and down the tracks from where like the machinery had been in there, going up and down the fence, and that's fairly common just because of thermodynamics and the way that odor moves. He's once again trying to rule out that this isn't the strongest source of the odor. There's a stronger source someplace else, and I need to actively find where the strongest source is.
Gotcha. on the in November when you ran in, did you follow all the normal procedures that you would follow according to the way that you two have trained and certified together?
Yes.
And you described how he kind of gave a final alert, but like wouldn't stay down. So is that like and you've kind of described how you would interpret that, but is that kind of like, are you saying it seemed to you that he wanted to alert but was uncertain?
He was alerting. It's a form of communication for me. That's how he can tell me, hey, I am in an odor, but I quite haven't found the strongest source of odor yet. And so then when I come in, I make sure that I get his nose places where it might not have been. And in those situations, what I will do is I will actively work him out of odor so that I can see him come back in from a different angle to help him try to narrow his search area.
Okay, and did you do that in this case?
I did.
Okay, and did when you worked him the second time, did he end up in the same place as before?
He did. He kept on bringing me to the same general location.
Okay, and where was that general location?
I started where the fence had been knocked down. And so looking into the backyard, the house was here. It would have been along the fence on the corner over here, so the far right corner.
Okay, so and you're using your hands a lot. We kind of got to verbalize it. So where the fence was knocked down, is that at the very end of the row of houses? And so the fence gets knocked down and there's a sidewalk and then the street is right there?
Correct. So where I started him was where the fence had been knocked down, facing the backyard.
And so would it be along the right side when you're looking through that hole that was
Correct.
knocked down along that fence line?
Correct.
Okay. And would excavation activity, like all because you're describing heavy equipment, deep holes, would that interfere with his ability? Well, if there were odor present but no body, would that explain why he was acting the way that he was?
So when the soil is disturbed like that, yes, it will change the odor picture. And the best way that I can explain it is if you've ever been sitting around a campfire and it's kind of smoldering down to just the coals and somebody walks over with a stick and pokes it and then everything goes and blows up and like you have embers come up and things so that the smoke goes up. That is very similar to what the odor will do in those situations. So it will then disperse the odor throughout.
Okay. I think that's all I have for you. That's all the questions from the state, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
She's another good witness. Obviously, she's describing that she was aiding in the search of the backyard at on Red Wing Street, where the Wondras used to live, and their gang of nasty monsters. I don't know how I feel about them continually focusing on Stacey, but that's par for the course in these hearings and these trials, that the camera does tend to go to the suspect, whoever, the defendant rather, and I have no idea what the hell Stacey keeps wandering his eyes all around the courtroom looking at. I don't know where the family and such were sitting on this day. They might have been sitting on that side of the courtroom and he kept eyeing them. I don't know. But if he thinks he's going to intimidate Brandy and Tyler and the family, he's got another thing coming, that's for sure. And all I can tell you is his time is very, very close at hand. Stacey, you're going to go down, man. You are going to go down. This preliminary hearing, this was just a taste. A taste. Once the jury gets a look at everything that the state has, and we all know that this preliminary hearing and what we heard during this time in March, this is just like bits of what the state of Idaho has against Stacey. And I cannot wait until Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian, and I don't know who else, but there could be others, are charged, because those three, I cannot wait till one day I wake up or later in the day while I'm working or what have you, we hear that these other three suspects are indicted and arrested. I cannot wait till that day comes. And it's coming. It is. I mean, they're not worried about Sarah because she's in prison on other charges right now. But Brandon, they're coming for you. You too, Adrian. They are coming for you soon.
Good afternoon. So, your dog is Bannock, correct?
It has not, yes. I was running K9 Bannock, yes.
Was Bannock your first dog?
No,
So you've had previous dogs.
correct.
How many previous dogs have you had?
3 prior to me.
How long do dogs typically last in the cadaver human detection world?
I would say typically 8 years. I mean, it's kind of like how long can a person play football, professional football? It's really determinant upon the individual dog.
Sure. And what breed is Bannock?
He is a German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Okay. Is he your first German Shepherd?
No, he is not.
Okay.
He was actually my 9th German Shepherd that I owned personally. I did not train all of them, but he was my 9th German Shepherd that I owned.
And then the other breed of dogs prior to Bannock, were any of those German Shepherds?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
All of them.
All of them were. Okay, so you've solely dealt with German Shepherd scent dogs or cadaver dogs.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said that what organization do you work for?
I am with, I work for several. Specifically on the case before the court today, I was called in from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I am certified with them.
So you have not, you're not with Idaho Mountain States?
I am with Idaho Search and Rescue Dogs.
Okay. So do you work with Yodi, or have you ever worked with a K9 named Yodi before?
No,
No, okay.
no,
Nothing, no.
not that I'm aware of. You said Yodi?
Yes.
No.
Okay. And just taking a step back, in this cadaver dog field, is there any sort of standardized training that a dog has to go through before it can be certified?
There is no one specific standardized training. No.
And so you are a part of, I think it was the police dog training?
The North American Police Work Dog Association is who I certified through.
Okay. And they are not the only certification agency, correct?
That is correct. Actually, I certified under 3 different organizations. I had Bannock certified through 3 different organizations.
Okay. And there's no one organization that is the prime organization that a dog should be certified through?
In the United States,
Yes.
there is no one standard. That is correct.
And when you are working with Bannock, you said that you go through this kind of testing procedure with him, correct? That was a big question. So when you work with Bannock, when you first certified with him, that certification process, you had to go through this test environment to make sure that he didn't have any false positives, correct?
Do you mean when I certified with the North American Police Work Dog Association, our first certification with him?
That's already the certification since there's the same several.
I first certified with Bannock through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
And when you first certified with him, what year was that?
That was 2016.
And when you first certified with him through that organization, did you have to go through training and testing procedures with him to have him certified?
Yes.
And when you were certifying with him, you had to go through essentially a testing phase, correct?
I wouldn't say it was a testing phase.
Okay.
I mean, you start training, and then when you leave, I had to go to the head of our organization, who is the head of testing and training. They have to verify that they think that I'm ready for certification, which means I'm mission ready. I also have to have basic skills and things for myself as well. And so I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure. When you say mission ready, what does that mean?
That means ready to deploy.
Okay. And what standards do they use when they determine that you are mission ready to be able to deploy?
There is no written standards
So it's
to
just
say that I'm ready to test.
okay. So since there's no standards, it's just on case-by-case basis.
So I need to go back. There is a list of criteria. There are things like specifically you have to have off-leash obedience. You have to have temperament tests. You have to, for myself, I would have to have land navigational skills. I have to have, things like that as well. And then also there is a little bit of subjectivity to it for the individual to see if they can handle the deployments. And then for our organization, it usually follows that you do search and rescue type testing first prior to getting more of a law enforcement type certification. And so that's how we proceeded. We did a regional search and rescue type certification first, then we did NECMEC, and then we did NAPWADA.
Okay. Can you spell this out for Madam Court Reporter?
NECMEC would be the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and then NAPWADA would be the North American Police Work Dog Association.
Okay, understood. And when you did the search and rescue training, was that with Bannock?
That was.
Okay.
It's through Tri-State.
Okay, understood. And where is that located?
It's more the region. It's not really, it's not headquartered anywhere. It's Intermountain West.
Okay. It's a local area.
Correct.
Okay.
So then it allows me to deploy in the national parks and then like the Forest Service and whatnot.
And in the certifications, did you go through any sort of testing environment where Bannock had approved that, sorry, is it he or she? He. Where he could adequately find either human remains or the source of human remains?
Yes.
How often does he do that? How often does he have to go through this testing procedure to show he's still okay to do this?
So for the search and rescue, it is every 2 years. However, with the North American Police Work Dog Association, it is an annual certification. He first certified in 2016, He's certified every single year until his retirement in 2025, with the exception of 2020 because of COVID.
When they go through this annual certification, how many courses do they have to go through? So how many?
So it's a multiple day
Okay.
certification. There are 6 components. The 6 components would be vehicle, building, area, water, burial. So I think that's 6.
So it's one.
Is Stacey like kind of deciding if he wants to take a nap here or what? He all of a sudden came back to attention here. You know, I mean, let's not be attentive at all to your preliminary hearing, Stacey. You know, I'm curious what exactly his body language will convey during his trial. And yes, the jury watches that quite a bit. I know I watch their body language, the defendant, during a trial whenever we're watching them. You know, when I've been in the court a few times that I've been lucky enough to. It's something that you definitely keep an eye on a defendant for sure.
Like one vehicle they have to test on.
No,
Multiple vehicles.
correct. In each component, there are multiple, like say for the vehicle component, there are multiple vehicles, so they can't false alert on a vehicle that does not have human remains on it. So they have to clear vehicles, and then they are only allowed to alert on the vehicles where the human remains is present. And also, once again, I think I mentioned this earlier, they have to make sure that there will also be animal remains present. And then they are required to make sure that the remains that they're testing on, there are certain specific standards to them as well to make sure that some of them are older, some of them are newer, more fresh. And so there's a lot, the standard is for that certification is fairly long and detailed, and that is online.
And when you say older scents, does the age of the scent matter? So if there's a newer scent, the dog's more likely to hit on it. If there's an older scent, they're less likely to hit on it.
No, not for my dogs.
What do you mean?
It's never mattered for my dogs the age of the remains.
Okay. And you say your dogs. Does it matter to other dogs?
I don't know.
Okay. Again, because there's not really a standard for that, correct?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that that's part of the testing, is that some of the remains have to be older than 6 months old, and then at some point in time, some of the remains have to be, for lack of a better word, fresher. Like, I believe it's less than 3 months old.
Okay. When your dogs, this is all in the test environment, correct, that we're discussing?
That was my understanding.
Yes. Okay. When we're not in the test environment, does it matter the age of the remains? So out in the field when you're working?
No. I mean, pardon me. I said no, but I guess I don't know in what context you are meaning. Does it matter? So for myself, I don't necessarily know what you mean, does it matter?
Sure. So when your dog is going to do this train final alert, does it matter if the remains have been there for 6 months, whether they've been there for 2 years, whether they've been moved 2 years ago? What does that look like in your field?
So I work specifically with the Texas State University. They have a forensics anthropology department, and they have a body farm. And so at any given time, there are probably 80 plus cadavers available on their, what they call a ranch outside of San Marcos. So within that environment, there are remains that in all different parameters. We train on all different parameters from demographics, from ethnicities, from males, females, so to make sure that he has a complex and profile.
Sure. That's the test environment, but when you're in the field, how do you know that your dog isn't false alerting or isn't having a false positive or having a miss?
Because I've always been able to, let me just go back, because of the change of behavior. He elicits a change of behavior that is conducive with being in the odor of human remains. You don't get a TFR without the change of behavior.
This change of behavior, has he ever had a change of behavior without a trained finding
No.
result? So he's never been in this scent and then not alerted in some fashion.
Correct.
When we're talking about this specific case, you said that he had kind of a semi-alert, correct?
I said he did have a trained final response. However, it was without the pinpoint. The pinpoint is very important for it looks different when there's a pinpoint. And so therefore, that's when there is actually a source that human remains, something physical source.
So if it's important to have this pinpoint, and he didn't have it here, how could he have the trained final response?
He was in odor behavior. He has a search behavior. He has a change of behavior that is conducive with being in the odor of human remains. He has it, so then he works distally, and then he starts narrowing the search area to a proximal area, and then they can give a trained final response if the subject is 14 feet down in water. I just had one this fall. They can give a trained final response if the subject is buried 6 feet under the snow. They can give a trained final response if the subject is buried or concealed and they're not able to get to it. It just looks differently when it's diffused, and so that's why you train, is so you know what they look like in the different environments.
Sure. When you say diffused, does that mean that the source or the body is gone?
Not necessarily. It means that the odor is diffused or dispersed.
So best practice would be for you to be in a location where the dirt hasn't been disturbed or there hasn't been any sort of excavation.
I would not say that.
Okay. So it's better to have an excavated area then.
I would not say that either.
Okay.
I don't think that one's better than the other. They're just different.
You said that Bannock in this case, he alerted to the far right corner of the yard, correct?
That area.
Okay. Again, because there's no pinpoint of where the area was, correct?
Well, because we don't have a map, I'm not exactly sure when you say that, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
Sure.
So it was that general area, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Sure. So the fence is down, correct?
Correct.
Where he did this trained final response was near the back area of the yard, correct?
Once again, I don't know that I would say it was, the fence runs along here, the house is here. It was, let's say, 2/3 of the way through the backyard. It wasn't necessarily along the fence line. It was out more towards in the yard. I believe that there are videos.
Fair enough. Videos from.
No, the police, they had body cam on them.
Gotcha. Okay. But this was not near any sort of irrigation box, correct?
I don't remember seeing an irrigation box.
And then you did the search on the 13th, correct? November 13th of 2022.
That is correct.
Do you keep any record of your searches?
I do. However, I do want to say that we had an accident, and there was the trailer that we keep our documentation in. I think it was 2 winters ago. The roof was ripped off, and we did experience some of them were damaged, and we threw them away.
Do you keep a electronic copy?
I do not.
So just a paper. When you were there on November 13th, how much of the dirt was out of the yard?
I have no idea.
4 feet, was it above your head? Did your dog have to go into a huge hole?
There were big holes,
Okay.
and there were also mounds.
I'm sorry.
There were also some mounds,
Mounds, okay.
and then there were places where it wasn't disturbed.
Gotcha. Other than this residence, did you go to any, you and Bannock go to any other residence for this case?
We did not. We started away from this residence. I parked specifically a block away, and so I did not just start him at the residence. We approached the residence from a block away so I could see if I did get a change of behavior.
Did you go to any residence in Payette or Cuna or Meridian?
Not for this case, no, I did not.
Okay. And then did you do any sort of vehicle searches or house searches with Bannock in this case?
No, I did not.
Thank you. Have other questions?
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
So that was looks like the end of the canine searches. So you had the first up was former Sergeant Dustin Witt, which I did on the previous video, and then we just heard from Julie Gibson with Yodi, and then Deborah Hurlburt with Bannock. Those were the three ones with the search dogs that searched Red Wing Street and some of the surrounding areas. So I don't know how much. Well, I'm assuming all three of them are going to be testifying at the trial, but I feel like Julie Gibson is with Yodi. She's probably going to be one of the more important ones because Yodi, like I said before, searched not only Red Wing, but Yodi went to Cuna and searched Brandon's mama's house. So these are definitely very important, witnesses for the state, and I do look forward to hearing their complete testimony and everything that they do have to say and whatever the state has as far as all of this is concerned. But yeah, I mean, this was a lot of just evidence, that we got to hear some of the basics, really, to see what these canines and their handlers were able to discover to lead them to the former Wondra house, to where Michael Michael was. I mean, that's where Michael was originally taken after he was abducted in the vehicle. So, and it's just sad to me that they were able to get the scent, like Dustin was saying in his testimony, that they did get the scent earlier on, and it led them to Red Wing, but there was just not enough evidence to get them there. And it's just a frustration, and it's been a frustration with this case. And it's not for lack of Fruitland Police Department, the FBI, and them doing their work, because I think that they've done an excellent job. It's just the DA wanted to find Michael, and that's still, it needs to happen. These monsters need to tell, the family, they need to tell them where Michael is. And it's horrible, it's horrific. Everything that they did, they stole little Michael away from his loving family, and all they want now, all Brandy, Tyler, and the family want, not only is the justice for Michael, because obviously that's very important, but they want Michael to come home. And I hope and pray every single day that one of these nasty monsters will give it up. And I don't think Stacey knows. I don't think Stacey knows. I think Brandon, I think he knows. And he knows a lot. And he really needs to open his mouth and talk, because it's, one day, we've always been saying it's going to be too late, and he still has a squeegee little bit of time to try to, do a little bit better for himself in the long run. But yeah, it's that time it's running out, Brandon. You feel like, well, it's been all these years. Well, Brandon, it may be almost 5 years, but let me tell you something. It is getting so much closer to being over for you, as well as Stacey and Sarah and Adrian, because you see what Stacey's been right now. You see that he had his preliminary hearing in March, and you see that he's going to trial this fall. And you and Sarah, Adrian, y'all are next. You are next. And anybody who is aiding them, Brandon, your mom, and anyone else, you really need to wise up and think about that. You are protecting. You're protecting someone who stole. Look at this face on the screen. They abducted. They took away little Michael from his family. They took him away. You ruined all their lives. You ruined every one of their lives. Justice is coming. Stacey's just the first one. Stacey's just the first. I've been saying this since this preliminary hearing. Stacey is the first, guys, but Brandon, I cannot wait. And I cannot wait until I get to hear. Of course, the family obviously is the ones we want the justice for first. But Monkey's Army, we cannot wait until we hear that you have been arrested and charged in this case. Because you know what you did. You all know exactly what you did. All right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.